Unfiltered stories, unapologetic truth, unmistakably brave. Hello and welcome to the Brave as Fuck podcast. My name is Jessica and I am your host. I'm excited, I am honored, I am humbled that you are here again today. If this is your first time to the show, welcome. It's been a minute. I appreciate you. Feel free to listen to the previous shows. Make sure you click subscribe wherever you are listening, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all of the things, right? Just to make sure you don't miss when we do come out with a new episode. So today, y'all, listen, all right? I got to be honest with you. My intentions today were to record this short little snippet on Instagram, whatnot, a video, and just kind of give you some updates about where I am with life and this whole, surgery thing going on and recovery. And I kept re-recording it, clearly overthinking it. But with each new attempt, the video, instead of getting shorter, was getting longer. I was getting more in depth in the topic of what I wanted to share with you. And so I was just like, you know what, fuck it. I'm just going to make this a show because I've got a lot to say, clearly. And so I hope you all can just, bear with me on this because this was very improv, off the cuff. I just got out of a real estate class. Like I was not prepared to quote unquote show today. But I have a free moment and I wanted to do this while it was, fresh on my mind, at the forefront of my thoughts, all of those things. And so hopefully this will come out in a way that is helpful to y'all. So what I want to talk about is it's a variety of things. I'm going to touch on a variety of things and maybe we'll dive deeper into certain areas or aspects of it later on. But specifically, I shared with you guys, those that follow me on social media, right? Instagram, Facebook, whatnot, TikTok. I shared the fact that I just recently had surgery, right? And I think I've mentioned it in a couple of shows prior back that I was having it done. I tore my elbow basically a year and a half ago. I've been doing things in pain for a really long time. And finally it got to the point where it's like, all right, it's not healing. It's not going to heal without some sort of intervention. So we decided to do a surgery. And that was last week. And basically they did something what's called like a full debridement and a repair, cleaned everything out. All this, it was frayed in there, torn tissue, ligament, all that stuff, inflammation. And then they basically re-anchored my tendon to the bone. Yeah, it's about as much fun as it sounds. I think the tear they said was around 20-30%. I did a number on myself. Not really surprised, but unfortunate as it may be. So it required something to be done. So anyways, I had the surgery last Tuesday, and part of that recovery process requires me to have a leave of absence from my corporate job for about 3 weeks minimum. We'll see. It could be longer because my job requires a constant use of my right arm with typing and different tasks. And so it can't heal properly by doing that. So anyways, I'm supposed to take time off. I foolishly, in true Jess fashion, was like, all right, sweet. I've got 3 weeks off of work. I'm going to make the most use of that time. And I'm going to make this extensive, unrealistic, overly ambitious list of things for myself to do while I'm quote unquote off at home. Right? Most of you, if you know me at all, are probably not surprised by this at all. You shouldn't be. This is very typical of how my mind works. I am going to power through whatever. In my mind, I figured day of surgery, I'm out. The day after surgery, probably going to be low key, right? I'm going to be on pain medication, a little bit sore, whatnot, and I'll just have to rest a bit. But after that, I'm good to go, right? I don't typically require a lot of pain medications. I don't take them. I've had a multitude of surgeries, nothing crazy, a couple C-sections. I've had a hernia repair. I've had hysterectomy, yada, yada, whatever, and pain meds are not something I need. I think I mentioned this before too, right? Kidney stones, by far the most debilitating pain to me. And that still takes number one, y'all, even after all of this. Hands down, kidney stones are the fucking shit. Anyways, that being said, so I envision myself up and running basically at normal capacity with the inconvenience of, a brace of some sort, a sling of some sort. Y'all, no. First off, I'm in a cast, basically. It's splint and I can't move my arm. I can't move my elbow. I can't itch my arm. Talk about shit you didn't think about, but do you have any idea what it's like to not be able to itch an itch that you have? It's frustrating. It's maddening. It's causing me to lose my ever loving mind. But I digress. Anyways, so I can't move that. And the tendons, I mean, the first 24 hours, my arm was completely numb. They did like what's called a block, right? So from actually halfway through my chest, all the way down my shoulder, and all the way down my arm, I couldn't move it at all. Also frustrating and freaky, might I add, when you're trying to move your fingers, your mind is saying, move your fingers, and they cannot move at all. It's like, like when you go to the dentist and they numb your face but it stays numb for 24 hours, like, holy fucking hell, it's weird as shit. So I couldn't do anything, and so I didn't like that feeling, and it just felt like my heart was throbbing in my hand, right? Like, all of the blood was just sitting there, and I was trying to hold it up, and not a fan. Wasn't a great, feeling. But again, still disillusioned that I was gonna be good by the next day because that was when the numbing would wear off and I would be fine. And so that next morning, some of it was wearing off, and I shit you not, I was outside pulling weeds. And yeah, I was smacked real quick by reality that, yeah, that's not how this game's gonna go, Jess. Fuck you. You're gonna sit your happy ass down. And now your arm is sore. And now, just for the record, I was pulling weeds with my good hand, but just the movement of my other arm, just being there along for the ride was enough to make it ache. And then, they warned us that day 3, day 4 was gonna be the worst. They were not wrong, and I actually had to take a few pain meds to manage it. It wasn't, completely unbearable, but it was certainly uncomfortable, and I needed it to sleep. So, there's that. Anyways, all of this rambling to say is that I was quickly, brought with a reality check that I might not be getting to my list. Like, in fact, like I had appointment set for Thursday. The surgery was Tuesday. I had appointment set for Thursday. Yeah, I can drive to Holly Springs. I can drive an hour away and meet with you. No problem. I'll be there 9:30. That should be great. And I had to email them the night before. I'm like, yeah, I am a Fruit Loop. I'm on, narcotics, not supposed to drive technically, although I felt fine. But I can't function. So I might have been a little premature in our appointment. And so I need to move that out. And so things like that, here I am again thinking I'm going to accomplish all these great goals. I'm going to launch a business. I'm going to release multiple episodes. I'm going to do all of these things, get caught up on life outside of, corporate job type stuff, get caught up at home because I don't have to work. And y'all, no, I am over here trying to master basic skills like brushing my teeth and wiping my ass with my non-dominant hand, things that I just took for granted and foolishly should not have. And so I have a far renewed sense of appreciation, if you will, for the things that my right hand does so seamlessly. And now I need to learn to do with my left hand. So, anyways, that's not necessarily what I wanted to talk about this week or today or on the show, but I wanted to give you some sort of, context of where I'm at mentally with it. I made a post about this list and I hopefully, in between the lines of woe is me, right? I was feeling a little pity party for myself. You also caught my humor and sarcasm, right? Like I mentioned to you that the fact that I would just love to scratch my arm. That's the new prioritized goal. Tomorrow I have my first physical therapy and they take the splint off, this cast, I believe, for the first time, and I can just scratch my arm. I mean, that sounds like the bee's knees right now, right? Like I'm super stoked about that. It's ridiculous. It's pitiful. But I also, I was watching a thriller, the new Apex movie, which if you haven't seen it, it's good. It's not at all what I expected. I thought it was a heartwarming climbing story, not so much. But anyways, I watched the thriller and there was like a point where I like jumped, like literally screamed, jumped. It spooked me. And out of pure habit or reaction in I tried to straighten my arm, y'all. I was so worried I ripped it off the bone again. And it's in a cat. I mean, I can't. I don't think I can do that with it splendid the way it is. But like it was just like, holy fucking hell! I just broke myself. Like I just did something very, very wrong, and all I did was tense up and flail my arms because I was scared in a movie. Like this is 46, y'all. Like it's insane. Anyways. I digress. So I can't do all of the things that I had set out to do. And so I'm trying to, reset my expectations and regroup and just all of these things. And the last week, y'all, has been so fucking humbling for me in so many different ways. And it has given me an opportunity, if you will, to revisit some of the triggers or patterns, behaviors, beliefs that I have been working on for years in some cases, right? Things like sitting still, right? And this overwhelming feeling that I'm not being, quote, productive enough, or I'm not, you know, doing enough, not being enough, right? Can anybody relate to that? Like that feeling, it's an overwhelming feeling for me that isn't necessarily as prevalent as it's been in my life all the time or as bad as it once was, but still shows up, right? And moments where I am forced to sit still excessively, uh, against my own will, right? Or my own desire because I'm forced to, that feeling comes front and center. It's right at the forefront. I'm also realizing or revisiting the shame and the guilt that comes with sitting still and not being productive. The idea that I am somehow not performing as I should, I'm not meeting expectations, not only my own, but perceived expectations of others, right? This sense of almost failing at what I'm supposed to be doing, this overwhelming sense of, falling behind, or this fear that I'm falling behind these timelines that I likely have set for myself, right? But the perceived timelines that other people might see, social media can be a great tool, right? But how many times do we compare ourselves of where we are in life and in our journeys to someone else online, right? So for me, I'm comparing my timeline and say, oh, well, I should have already accomplished this by now. Like I should have already lost this much weight. Should already make this much money. I should already have these things in my life because someone else of my age, my background, my size, whatever, has already accomplished it. Completely negating how much work they've done up until then or how long it took them. I'm not where they are, so therefore I'm, behind. So when I'm forced to sit still, it feels like, okay, I'm only putting myself further behind, right? And so there's this overwhelm that comes. There's this anxiety that comes that just sits there. It's like, oh my gosh, I've got even more to do when I can do it. And I'm never gonna reach that mark. I'm never gonna get there on time. I'm never going to, quote, succeed in the way that I visualize I should succeed, or in the timelines that I should, right? Like, anybody relate to this? Can you relate to this overwhelming heaviness sometimes that we put on ourselves? That's the shitty part. Like, we've done this to ourselves typically, or it comes from maybe a history of pressure from maybe a loved one. Maybe it was your parents, maybe it was a teacher, maybe it was a coach, sports, maybe it was a partner, whatever it might be. But we've developed this pattern of constantly feeling the need to meet these unrealistic expectations or these timelines that are unwritten. And, you know, we feel they're unwavering, but in reality, they are. They're flexible. And so, anyways, last week was very humbling for me because not only was it re-triggering of some of those feelings, right? The feelings of overwhelm, the feelings of not doing enough, my inability to sit down, or rather not inability, my unwillingness to sit down because it triggers all of those feelings, shame and guilt and anxiety and overwhelm and all of that. But then also my unwillingness to ask for help and my hyper independence. And where does that come from? And so the reason I want to bring this up is because it's bringing it to the front of my mind, right? The forefront of my thoughts. And these are all things I am cognizant of. I'm aware of these, I don't want to say flaws, these areas that I can improve, right? These areas of struggle for myself. And I'm aware of them and I have worked on them. However, until you are in a situation where you are faced with whatever type of environment triggers those emotions for you, or those patterns, behaviors, or whatnot, until you are faced with those situations, there's a limited amount of work that you can do to prepare or to disrupt those patterns, to change them. Okay. So, for example, I'll use sports as an analogy, right? I can read a book or watch as many YouTube videos as I want about pickleball. I can learn all of the rules. I can study the best techniques. I can mentally visualize myself playing all of these things. I could study it for hours. But until I actually walk onto a pickleball court and engage in an actual game that challenges me with other people, there's a limited amount of skill set that I can create and improve and strengthen, right? I can't perfect something I've never performed. Personal development is very similar. I can read as many self-help books there are and attend as many workshops and conferences as anybody else. But until I am put in a situation where I am expected or I have the opportunity to apply that knowledge, it's not going to intuitively come forward in my actions or my beliefs, or my attitude, my mindset, any of it, right? Because it's not second nature to me. What I have done in the past is because that's what I had done, right? Again, you can't perfect what you don't perform. So I've been studying a lot of things for the last 10, 15 years to improve on my own behaviors, my own patterns, and breaking those things. But I'm only able to strengthen those skills and really reinforce that acquired knowledge when I am put in situations like I was this last week. So where I'm going with all this is that, not only was I humbled by what I could not do, but I was also humbled by the amount of work that I realized that I still need to do on myself. Guys, coaches need to be coached too, okay? Therapists will tell you they have therapists too. Business coaches will hire business coaches. In fact, they're the first people to hire them because they recognize the benefit of, having someone to hold you accountable and to stretch your thinking and to challenge you on your limiting beliefs and things like that, right? Like it's an important part of the process. And so there's never this level or this moment where you've achieved all things and you no longer need guidance or help. I believe we always need help with those things. We always can learn and improve and, make changes for the better of ourself and wellness, right? And healthier choices and patterns, behaviors, actions, beliefs, all of that, right? It takes practice. And so I have had to not only reset my expectations, but I also had to revisit why I had those expectations in the first place. I had to, and still have to, ask for help when it is not in my nature to do so. I can't tell you how many times in the last week I was offered help while I was in the middle of doing the task I should have not attempted to do alone, right? And they're like, "Can we please help you with that?" And I'm like, "Oh, shit. Yeah. Yeah. I guess. Yeah, you probably should. Yeah. That'd be great. Yeah. Thanks. Geez." And then I find myself apologizing. "I'm sorry you have to help me. I'm sorry that you had to step in for that. I'm sorry that, so that's a whole nother thing. How many of you apologize constantly, consistently? Y'all, that is a fucking pattern that we have learned where we're constantly apologizing for basic needs, for basic requests. And there's a reason for all of that. We're not diving into that today. But my point is that like I found myself apologizing because I'm like, "I'm sorry to bother you, but could you open my medication bottle for me? I'm sorry to bother you, but could you pull my hair up so that I can vomit without making a mess of things?" Very humbling experiences, by the way. So I want to encourage you guys today on a couple of things. I want to, one, just make sure that you know that we all got shit. Life coaches included, we've all got shit that we have to work on, right? And we have areas that we can improve on, that we can learn more healthier response. But it takes time. It takes experience. Again, I'm going to say this one more time. You can't perfect what you don't perform. Until you do that, and you're able to do that multiple times, and some things will take longer than others, give yourself some grace. It's okay if you don't respond perfectly every time, even if you know better now, right? It's okay that if your first response is to be like, fuck this shit, instead of be like, well, at least I get to stay home today. You know, I, y'all, like I had to look at all the silver linings. And, some of the silver linings for me, right, like were okay, yes, this is painful now, but ultimately am on the path to recovery that I need to be, and I will be able to use my arm without pain in the future. That's the goal, right? So obviously, short-term pain, long-term gain, right? I am grateful that I have health insurance. I am grateful that I was able to, under FMLA, right? I get to keep my job, but I also work for a company that offers salary continuation. So, like, I'm very grateful for all of that. There's a lot of folks who would give anything to get paid to be at home for 3 weeks and do nothing and watch TV. I'm not ungrateful, but I also, again, struggle to sit still because of all the things we just talked about. So, like, I know all of those things, but that doesn't mean I didn't lose sight of those things and that I won't lose sight of them again before this is all over, right? Like, I know that there's a lot of positive coming from this, but that doesn't mean that I'm not vulnerable to feeling sad or depressed or frustrated or annoyed or helpless because I'm human. And so are you. And so you need to give yourself some grace when you're in those situations. And the key isn't getting it right every time or being perfect. It's the ability to, one, recognize the pattern, right? To acknowledge that you are struggling, and making sure that you not only have someone in your life who can help disrupt that pattern, who can reset your focus, who can encourage you, maybe call you out on your shit, right? I had that a couple times this last week. I might not have appreciated it in the moment, but I'm appreciative of it. I'm grateful that I've got somebody who will, hold me accountable, who does call me out and be like, that's not brave as fuck. And I'm like, fuck you. I mean, thank you, right? Like, I need that too. I need somebody to call me out on that, so I'm grateful for that. Like, so it's important that you have people in your life that can do that for you in a way that is constructive, right? In a way that is productive, in a way that is healthy. You can call somebody out, you can tough love somebody and still be respectful. All right. You don't need to demean them or criticize them or make them feel less than or that they've failed because they've faltered, right? Those aren't synonymous, okay? Just because you falter on something doesn't mean you are a failure. All right? That's important. I need you to hear that, okay? It's also important for you to recognize these patterns and what helps you break them, right? For me, there's a lot of different things, and it depends on the specific trigger or the pattern, right? It depends on the environment, it depends on what's going on. But some of those things can be as simple as going outside, sitting in the sunshine, and putting your fucking feet on the ground and just grounding yourself and reminding yourself that the world is so much bigger than this moment, right? Like, there is so much more purpose than this particular situation or circumstance, that this too shall pass, right? What I'm saying is adjust for the present, pivot when you need to, take a moment to reset and regroup and refocus and shift when you need to. Does that make sense? Anyways. So that's I want to encourage you guys on that. I want to let you know that yeah, I'm good over here. Again, we've got some stuff coming. I am behind, but most of y'all don't know that because these are timelines I've set for myself, right? So I know there are some of you that have reached out about being on the show. We haven't been able to tack down a time to do the recording. I have a little more flexibility right now because I am home. So my arm doesn't work, but my voice works just fine. And so if you want to get that on the books, this would be a great time to do it, you guys, so I can start just filling up the calendar with that and recording some shows and getting those out there for you all. But that's what I got for you this week. I hope you all are doing amazing, and I'll talk to you soon.